Young Jiangnan, reborn in a different world, awakens his divine power of thief's claw. Anyone with a causal relationship can steal one of their most important things. Stealing divine arts, stealing secret techniques, stealing martial arts, stealing chi luck. As for the heroine's heart. Jiangnan. Stealing or not stealing? This is a question. Keywords of the novel. Wuxia. Opening awakening. Skyscraper claw no pop-ups, Wuxia. Opening awakening. Skyscraper claw TXT complete collection download, Wuxia. Opening awakening. Skyscraper claw latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Girl, are you also here to poop? You are listening at novel full.audio. Chapter 1. Girl, are you also here to poop? Did you die? I'm dead. I've tried and I'm not even angry anymore. That's good. The sound of a dagger piercing into the flesh. You actually. Didn't you tell me that as long as you send away the eldest young master and take the silver given by the second young master, you will fly together with me? Ha! Stupid mother. In law, you believe what men say in bed. Besides, you mother. In law are cruel and ruthless. You can even poison the master who has been serving you for many years. I dare not stay with you. Who knows, will I have to do the same one day? How could you say that? Clearly, isn't that what you asked me to do? Hee hee. Don't make yourself look aggrieved. If you were a chaste and virtuous woman, you could have completely avoided it. You. What are you? All right. For the sake of making me feel good about you before, let me make you a clear ghost. Before leaving, second young master told me that if I could lose another informant, not only would my current silver be one less, but the remaining silver would also be doubled for me. Hee hee. To be honest, I really can't bear to part with you as a woman, but second young master has given me too much. You. Second young master also said that as long as there is silver, any pretty little girl cannot be found, and why should it be used to hang you, a yellow-faced woman? Ha ha ha. I think second young master is right. You must die so hard. Ha ha ha. You definitely won't see this day. Ah. Stinky woman, let go of your mouth. Pwai. Pwai. The sound of a dagger continuously entering and exiting the body. Pooh. Stinky woman, she's dying and still wants to bite me. Forcing me to poke you a few more times. Why bother? Everything returns to silence. The scene of Jiangnan waking up from abdominal pain is like this. Suddenly startled, is this murder? Looking around, it seemed to be in the carriage of a carriage. I am leaning against a corner of the carriage. Jiangnan shook his drowsy head. He clearly remembers that during the boredom of the lockdown, he was playing a very old and classic martial arts game. There is a setting in the game where you can defeat the boss 20 times and create your own martial arts skills. Jiangnan finally achieved the conditions and created a magical skill called the Thief of Heaven Claw. This sky-stealing claw, once used, can randomly steal the most important thing from someone who has a causal relationship with oneself. Jiangnan was overjoyed and wanted to try the effect at that time. I once again found the boss who had been abused 20 times by myself. As a result, as soon as the sky-stealing claw was unleashed, a furious shout came from the void. Dare! Jiangnan's eyes suddenly turned black. Wake up again and have arrived in this carriage. Am I traveling? Looking at the arrangement in the carriage, Jiangnan shook his head and smiled bitterly. As an old bookworm, who doesn't have any travel experience yet. From this appearance, it seems that I have been reborn into an unlucky person who was murdered by servants. Then, there was another internal strife among the servants, one killing the other. What kind of world is this? Is killing people so casual? Unfortunately, I haven't had time to delete and clean up the 500 gigabytes in my hard drive yet. Poor English name. In a moment of contemplation, the car curtain had been lifted, and a man dressed as a coachman poked his head in. Jiangnan quickly closed his eyes, held his breath, and disguised himself as a corpse. The coachman was indeed deceived, only took a glance and then put down the curtain. Then, the body of a woman in her 30s was stuffed into the carriage by the coachman, with a crimson heart. The carriage continued to move, while Jiangnan opened his eyes in the carriage but dared not move. Just anxiously calling in my heart. System. Grandpa. Sign in. Start simulation. Deep blue, add some. Unfortunately, there was no response. Instead, a massive amount of memories belonging to the original body suddenly emerged in Jiangnan's mind, like a flood of broken embankments. This is a unique world similar to the ancient blue star with magical martial arts. The unlucky guy born from Jiangnan's possession is also known as Jiangnan. He is the eldest son of the head of the Jiang family, one of the 3 major families in Nanshan city. This young master Jiang was weak and sickly since childhood, and was doted on by his mother Chu Shi. He lived early and became a famous playboy in Nanshan city. A month ago, the Chu family had an accident, and Prince Jiang had no support and was repeatedly targeted by the second prince's family. First, he lost 10 shops under the Jiang family's name at the casino, and then an indescribable scandal spread in the brothel. Let the entire Jiang family lose both wealth and reputation, becoming the laughingstock of Nanshan city. Jiang's father, who originally did not like Prince Jiang very much, accepted the advice of the family elders and arranged for him to manage a mine in the countryside. As the name suggests, Prince Jiang has already reached adulthood and should take over the family business to start exercising. In fact, I just want to send him to the countryside to avoid further embarrassment in the city. Mr. Jiang is a playboy who, without the support of his mother, the Chu family, and knowing that he is guilty, cannot refuse. At this moment, it is on the way to the countryside. The 2 people accompanying him were the wet nurse who had taken care of Prince Jiang's clothing and food since childhood, and a servant from the Jiang family who was assigned to him. What Prince Jiang never expected was that the nanny who had taken care of him for over a decade would poison and assassinate him. Then, there was the rebirth of the borrowing body in Jiangnan. And the wet nurse, obviously, did not expect that the servant who had made a vow of brotherhood with her in bed would suddenly attack her at such a moment. Hee. It's really dog blood. Jiangnan sneered in his heart. Pulling out the sword that young Master Jiang used to use as a means of coercion, he quietly moved to the front window of the carriage, through the curtain, and fiercely stabbed the blurry figure behind the curtain. Jiangnan knows that this family is mostly preparing to find a suitable place to handle the body. When the other party finds out that they are not dead, with the weak physical body of Prince Jiang, they will definitely not be opponents. So, it's important to start first. Ah! That servant is in pain. Instinctively bowing his head, he glanced at the sword tip protruding from his chest, then struggled to turn his head and looked incredulously at the slightly ferocious face of Jiangnan behind the car window due to his exertion. Young master. You didn't die. Jiangnan didn't answer, tightly gripping the hilt and stirring fiercely. The servant let out a muffled groan, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth. Gradually, his wandering gaze crossed Jiangnan and swept over the body of the wet nurse in the carriage, cursing with hatred, "This slut, how dare you lie to me?" The curses were not over, and my head tilted, leaving me speechless. In the carriage, Jiangnan threw away the long sword with blood in his hand and gasped for breath. I couldn't help but secretly feel fortunate in my heart. Fortunately, I was originally a playboy and useless person who couldn't be trained in literature or martial arts, and due to my weak and sickly physique, I was despised by the second young master, who was my own cheap younger brother, and only sent such an ordinary servant to deal with me. You should know that there are magical martial arts in this world. Almost everyone knows the 9 major martial arts realms of forging body, internal breathing, unblocking meridians, qi, vigorous qi, long men, innate, concentration, and heaven and man. Even the lowest level forging warrior is capable of defeating 10 with one enemy. Legend has it that top-notch experts born above are capable of cutting off water, punching through mountains, destroying cities alone, and flying to heaven and earth, which is comparable to mythology. Not to mention anything else, there are over 10 martial artists who have reached the level of the Jiang family, where they originally belonged. Send anyone, even if Jiangnan plans to launch a surprise attack unintentionally, it is likely that they will not escape their fate. Without the driver's control, the carriage gradually came to a stop. The belly of Jiangnan is also tumultuous like a raging river. Jiangnan knows that it is mostly a sequelae of the poison that the wet nurse administered. Hurriedly climbed off the carriage and ran into the grass by the roadside, squatting down. Seemingly clattering, Jiangnan covered his nose and took a deep breath. My stomach finally stopped hurting so much. Just as he was thinking about what to use to wipe his buttocks, the carriage that had been parked in the middle of the road started running wildly on its own. I don't know if it was the poison discharged from Jiangnan that stimulated the sense of smell. Lie down. Stop it. Stop it. Jiangnan crouched down and shouted loudly. However, there is no egg to use. That beast can't understand human language at all. Jiangnan had no choice but to watch the unmanned carriage go away, squat down again, pull out a silver ticket from his pocket, fold it, and extend it behind him. The paper on the silver note is still too hard. If I had known earlier, should have rubbed it first, and then used it when it became soft. Jiangnan was a little disgusted to throw away the banknotes that played an alternative role, while roast in the heart. Just as he was about to get up, the grass suddenly moved and a woman dressed in white, who looked like a fairy sister, burst in. 4 eyes facing each other. The fairy sister's nose twitched and she froze for an instant. While Jiangnan is stunning, it is also slightly awkward. By divine intervention, he spoke up and asked. Girl, are you also here to poop? End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Thief of Heaven Claw. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The Thief of Heaven Claw. Girl, are you also here to poop? Upon hearing such a unique greeting from Jiangnan, the fairy sister was first taken aback, and then her pretty face turned red. Then, I don't know where to draw a long sword. Sword pointing towards Jiangnan, coquettishly rebuking. Dang Tuzi. Suffer death. It seems like they are about to come forward and pierce a transparent hole in Jiangnan. Jiangnan was startled. I didn't expect that the immortal sister would be a hot-tempered female hero. Hurriedly getting up, wanting to escape. The pants that had not been lifted suddenly slipped onto the ankle. Ah! The fairy sister exclaimed in surprise. Hurriedly retracting his sword, he blindfolded himself and cursed with a crying voice, You're despicable. How could the irritable female hero be afraid of this? Jiangnan's heart moved. Instead, he didn't rush to pull up his pants. Starting to talk to the shy female hero in a casual manner, he began to reason. Miss, everything is told on a first-come, first-served basis. Even if you are in a hurry, you can't start killing just because I came before you, right? Besides, if you're really not in a hurry anymore, you can come along. Anyway, there's such a big place. I won't mind. Of course, if you mind, you can also say, no big deal, I'll give you my seat. If you don't say it, how do I know you want it? Although you look at me sincerely, you still have to tell me what you want. It's impossible for you to say you want it, but I won't give it to you. If you say you don't want it, I will give it to you. Everyone makes sense. Do you really want it? Are you not really want it? Do you really want it? Come on, let's count 1, 2, 3, and tell me whether or not. Ah! Shut up. The fairy sister let out a piercing scream that pierced through the sky. With a fierce stomp, the ground shook. Ah! This is a master. This is a master. Jiangnan instinctively covered her ears and sighed in her heart. Can you lift up your pants first? After venting, the fairy sister closed her eyes and gritted her teeth as she asked. Cannot. Jiangnan decisively refused. What if I put on my pants and you rush over to kill me again? Do you think that if I close my eyes, I won't be able to kill you? The immortal sister snorted coldly, closed her eyes, and pulled a sword flower, with the tip of the sword pointing straight at the throat of Jiangnan. The killing intent is chilling. Jiangnan's heart skipped a beat. Jumped to the left with both feet together, trying to avoid the lock of the sword tip. Unexpectedly, the sword seemed to have long eyes, and the direction pointed was also adjusted to the left. Jiangnan quickly jumped to the right again. The tip of the sword also pointed to the right. From beginning to end, they were perfectly positioned at the throat of Jiangnan. Finished bird. The secret road in Jiangnan is not good. I know that this fairy sister is different from the fairy sister who only knew theoretical knowledge in her past life. She is a true martial arts master, and even with her eyes closed, she can stab herself to death by feeling. At present, no longer caring about using reasoning to persuade others, to delay time and seek opportunities to escape, he directly reached out to the immortal sister and shouted loudly. The claw of stealing heaven. But in a moment of crisis, a flash of inspiration flashed through my mind, reminding me of the supernatural powers I created in the game before traveling through my past life. The body method of riding the wind and dancing the sea. Suddenly, Jiangnan's mind was filled with such a body technique. Sure enough. Jiangnan felt ecstatic in his heart. As I guessed, for people in the martial arts world, the most important thing must be their ultimate martial arts skills. The immortal sister with a murderous intent met the conditions for a causal relationship, and the heaven-stealing claw was successfully used, directly stealing a martial arts body technique. Obviously, among the martial arts mastered by the immortal sister, this body method is the most important. The fairy sister was startled by the loud cheers from Jiangnan. Instinctively opened the tightly closed eyes that were originally afraid of seeing spicy images. Then he saw the slutty guy across from him, carrying his pants, performing his unique skill, riding the wind and dancing the sea body technique, and quickly escaping from his sight. How could it be? The fairy sister widened her Cazalin's big eyes and said, Are these the exiled children of the Yi family on Dongdao? Or are they the newly recruited disciples of my father? Just as he was about to take a step and chase, he suddenly flipped the river and the sea in his belly. I had no choice but to stomp my feet and squat down in the grass, holding up my skirt. That damn black shop, how dare you give me medicine? The immortal sister cursed fiercely. On the other end, running out of the grass, Jiangnan saw the fairy sister squatting down from a distance, and her mouth suddenly shrunk. So even fairies defecate. I have no intention of lingering in this place where the strange smell is drifting. If the immortal sister solves her 3 anxieties and then solves herself, she will definitely not be a match as she has just stolen a lightness skill. Jiangnan also has no intention of continuing to develop industries in the countryside. Since I have awakened to cheating and am no longer the original useless playboy, Jiangnan doesn't mind playing with everyone who targets me. Of course, what's more important is that staying in the countryside, where birds don't poop, won't give you the opportunity to encounter the martial arts masters only found in the city, and then. He. In the blink of an eye, Jiangnan had already selected several goals in his heart. The first to bear the brunt is naturally his own cheap father, Jiang Shozhen, the head of the Jiang family and the top expert. It is said that this cheap old man, who was a young man learning to write but failed repeatedly, angrily gave up writing and practiced martial arts, and became uncontrollable. In just a few years, he has repeatedly broken through several levels of physical training, internal breathing, and meridian communication, becoming a 6th-level Qi expert. Along with the entire Jiang family, they suddenly joined the 3 major families in Nanshan City. It can be regarded as an inspirational legend in Nanshan City. As the eldest son of Jiang Shozhen, the former Prince Jiang knows more about him than others. Knowing that this cheap old man not only showcases his top-notch martial arts skills, such as the Bright Moon Shadow Saber technique, but also hides a powerful explosive secret technique that can instantly stimulate his own strength several times its original strength. I have witnessed with my own eyes that after Jiang Shojing erupted, he directly killed several Qi High Realm powerhouses of the same level. People wandering in the rivers and lakes inevitably face stronger opponents, and such secret skills cannot be missed. In the midst of contemplation, Jiangnan used the technique of riding the wind and jumping into the sea all the way, and unknowingly returned to the entrance of Nanshan city. The footsteps only slowed down now. It takes less time than when leaving in a carriage. By using it repeatedly, Jiangnan also noticed a magical aspect of the heaven-stealing claw skill. The stolen martial arts seemed to have reached a level of small success, as if they had also stolen some of the target object's cultivation experience related to the martial arts. For example, this technique of riding the wind and dancing the sea was quite handy when first used in Jiangnan. Ha! Young master, didn't you go to the countryside? Exactly. Grand Master, why did you come back so soon? Where are Lao Wang and Bai Nyang walking with you? As soon as they approached Jiang Mansion, a familiar person was surprised and asked. The original prince, although an ignorant and inexperienced playboy, is just a playboy. Apart from eating, drinking, prostitution, and gambling, he has never engaged in any heinous activities. The popularity in Jiang Mansion is also relatively casual. Hey! Don't mention it. I encountered a strong person who robbed the road. In order to protect me and escape, old Wang and Bai Nyang sacrificed themselves. Jiangnan explained with a worried expression. Ah! This is amazing. There are still people in this southern mountain city who dare to attack the people of our Jiang family. Exactly. We need to quickly report to the homeowner and clean up these bold and powerful people as soon as possible. God bless. Fortunately, the young master is fine. By the time Jiangnan returned to his own small courtyard in Jiangfu, most of the Jiang family had already known the news of Jiangnan's return. Unexpectedly, the cheap father, who was the head of the Jiang family, did not immediately summon Jiangnan to inquire about his encounter with strong people. Just sent a butler to Jiangnan's residence to briefly understand the specific situation. Then he ordered someone to send a message, asking Jiangnan to temporarily rest at home, and then consider continuing to go to the countryside when the strong man captures it. Jiangnan felt somewhat regretful for not being able to directly see the top expert of the Jiang family and not having the opportunity to use the Thief of Heaven Claw. However, it's not urgent. After changing his clothes, Jiangnan followed the habits of his former son, the Grand Prince of Jiang, and swayed his folding fan to stroll around the Jiang mansion. Quickly, the figure of Song Sandao, the leader of the second expert guard of the Jiang family, was found. This Song leader is also the martial arts realm of the 6th rank Qi Si. It is said that he killed more than 70 bandits in a bandit stronghold overnight to avenge his family. And he himself was seriously injured and collapsed in a dilapidated temple. He was treated by Jiang Shojing and his wife who happened to pass by. From then on, he became the leader of the Jiang Mansion's guards. Only Jiang Shojing and his wife, who saved Song Sandao, may know his true name. The name Sandao comes from his renowned sword technique, Thunderbolt Sandao. Song Sandao once said that these 3 sword techniques represent his strongest combat power. After the 3 swords, if the enemy does not fall, there is no need to continue using them. The strength of these 3 sword techniques is evident from this. Setting aside his own cheap father's explosive secret technique, the most important thing in Jiangnan, the entire Jiangfu, is the 3 moves and techniques of Song Sandao. The Claw of Stealing Heaven. Jiangnan didn't say hello and shouted loudly at Song Sandao, who was training with the escort team. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Ghost Shadow and Shadow Sword. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 3 Ghost Shadow and Shadow Sword. Young Master, what are you playing with? Song Sandao turned his head and stared at the strange posture of Jiangnan, asking in surprise. Behind him, dozens of guards from the Jiang family all widened their eyes to explore. Why hasn't there been any response? Jiangnan was puzzled in his heart. According to the theory, these three swords of Song have served as the head of the Jiang family's guard for many years, and their relationship with the original son of Jiang is also quite good. They have had a drink together and wandered around the building, so there should be a causal relationship. How did you not steal anything after using the power of Thief's Claw? According to the perception when I first created my martial arts, as long as there is a causal relationship with myself, there is absolutely no possibility of failure in this divine ability. Once used, one of the most important things will inevitably be stolen. How did it feel like it had failed when it reached Song Sandao? Perhaps. Jiangnan remembered the classic gameplay mode of his past life and suddenly thought of a possibility. Is it possible that this divine power has a cooling-off period? Suddenly, I couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. However, on second thought, I realized that this was normal. After all, this divine power itself is already enough to defy the heavens. If there are no restrictions, then it's okay. With a smile, Uncle Song, let me test your reaction. You truly deserve to be a martial arts master and remain calm when things change. You have the demeanor of a great general. You kid, how did you learn to flatter? Song Sandao laughed heartily and stepped forward, patting the shoulder afraid of Jiangnan. He jokingly said, aren't you scared by the bandits who robbed the Dao? Do you want Song to catch them early and avenge you? I can't hide anything from you, Uncle Song. Jiangnan's complaint. You say, why have I been so unlucky lately and have I encountered all these bad things? I can't control whether it's bad or not, as long as people are okay. Song Sandao shook his head and sighed, alas. I had advised you to practice martial arts long ago, but you just didn't listen. You should know that in this world where force is paramount, one's own strength is the foundation of everything, and other identities and backers are all talk. Do I still have time to practice martial arts now? Jiangnan asked with an expectant expression on his face. It's too late. Song Sandao punched Jiangnan in frustration. You should settle down and become your local tyrant in the countryside. That's currently the most suitable life for you. That's not necessarily true, Jiangnan said softly, and before Song Sandao could refute him, the conversation immediately changed. Uncle Song, have you finished your work? I'll treat you to a drink. A guard leader, what's up? Song Sandao turned his head and ordered the guards who were still waiting on the side, I remember everything I just said, disband. Yes. The guards retreated. Jiangnan ordered the kitchen to deliver the wine and vegetables to their own yard, and chatted about the anecdotes of the martial arts world with Song Sandao. Young master, weren't you not interested in these things before? Song Sandao asked in surprise. That was before. Jiangnan sighed, alas, after going out, I realized that this martial arts world is too dangerous. It's always good to learn more common sense. Song Sandao did not doubt that he was there, and he gradually shared his experiences of wandering the rivers and lakes with Jiangnan. Unconsciously, it was already the third watch of rooster crowing. The goods in Song Sandao's stomach were almost completely drained and he couldn't bear it anymore. He insisted on going back to rest. Jiangnan still refuses to let him leave, so please rest in his own room with Song Sandao. Song Sandao pushed back but could only accept it. Sleep on the bed in Jiangnan. Jiangnan sleeps in a room that originally belonged to wet nurse by Jiang. At dawn, Song Sandao suddenly shouted loudly from his room in Jiangnan, where are the thieves from? Immediately following was the sound of Song Sandao rushing out of the door to pursue the enemy. It's been a while. Song Sandao only returned to outside by Nyang's room and shouted, "Young master, are you okay?" "It's okay." Jiangnan crawled out from under by Nyang's bed, opened the door, and walked out. "Uncle Song, what's wrong?" Jiangnan rubbed his sleepy eyes and asked in surprise. "Just now, someone touched my bed and seemed to be trying to attack me. Fortunately, I caught him in time and scared him away." Song Sandao stared into Jiangnan's eyes and said meaningfully, "Fortunately, I am a martial artist in the Qi-Si realm, and my vigilance is much stronger than that of ordinary people. If it were you, I would probably have stopped eating." "Ah." Jiangnan patted his chest with a look of fear on his face and said, "So, it's Uncle Song who took the blame for me and saved my life. Next time I drink, I will definitely give you a few bowls of respect." "Got it. I dare not drink your boy's wine again." Song Sandao clearly indicates something. It is obviously impossible for Song Sandao to avoid suspicion, as things happen so coincidentally in the grand old martial arts world. Jiangnan doesn't care either. "I have done everything. As long as you see through it but don't say it, and don't admit it, everyone is still friends." "Hee hee. Then I'll go to Uncle Song's house to drink your wine." Jiangnan just started playing pranks. "You. Going out, your face has thickened." Song Sandao nodded helplessly on Jiangnan's forehead. "Haha. Only those with thick skin are less likely to suffer losses." It makes sense." As Song Sandao spoke, his face suddenly changed and he said, "From tonight on, I will add an extra secret guard outside your yard, young master. In terms of safety, there shouldn't be any problems for the time being. However, I still suggest that you go to the countryside early, young master. Go early, be at ease. Everyone is at ease." "I know." Jiangnan nodded and spoke solemnly, "Thank you, Uncle Song." Sigh. Song Sandao sighed and didn't say much, then turned around and walked towards the outside of the courtyard. At that time, the sky was already dawn, and a faint line of fish belly white could be seen in the distant sky. The originally unremarkable colors appear so dazzling in the silent world. Anyone with insight knows that beneath that silver line, a brilliant red sun is brewing. As soon as the opportunity arises, it will spray out thinly. Whether it's countless mountains or billions of clouds and mist, they cannot be concealed. The claw of stealing heaven. In the morning breeze, Jiangnan once again whispered in his heart to the back of Song Sandao. Ghost shadow and misty sword. This is a sudden appearance of martial arts in Jiangnan's mind. Ha! Isn't it Song Shulai's famous, Thunderbolt 3 sabers? Jiangnan was surprised in his heart. After a brief study, it was discovered that this swordsmanship called Ghost Shadow and Misty Sword has a much higher level of power than the Thunderbolt 3 sabers that Song Sandao showed to the guard team, not to mention its power. According to the principle of stealing the most important thing from the target character through the divine skill of Sky-Stealing Claw, it is obvious that this swordsmanship is the main martial arts of Song Sandao, and the sword techniques displayed are mostly just a cover-up. It seems that Uncle Song's identity is not simple either. Jiangnan shook his head and smiled heartily. Being able to obtain a stronger version of Ghost Shadow and Shadow Sword than Thunderbolt 3 sabers is naturally a pleasant surprise. As for why Song Sandao wanted to conceal his identity, what identity did he actually hide? Jiangnan doesn't care. As long as it does not endanger oneself, the other party is the world's top villain in the demon cult, and what does it have to do with oneself? Jiangnan casually folded off a peach branch and waved it a few times according to the move of Ghost Shadow and Shadow Sword in his mind. Leave a lingering peach branch in the air. Sure enough. The newly stolen Ghost Shadow Sword also directly reached the level of Xiaocheng. Although there is no internal power, the sword lacks some power, and the transformed shadow is also irresistible. The sword that Prince Jiang used for his daily equipment and coercion has been thrown into the wilderness along with the carriage. Jiangnan went directly to the Jiangfu warehouse and received a long sword hanging on his waist. Just as he left the door of the warehouse, he met a young man who was rushing towards him. "Hey big brother, I heard you met a strong man yesterday. Why, even the sword you bought with 1,000 taels of silver was lost." The young man looked at the ordinary long sword on Jiangnan's waist with a sarcastic tone and said, "Let me tell you, big brother, you can still play with your own beauty and fan it. Hanging a long sword on your waist that can only be used as a decoration does not match your temperament, big brother." This young man is his original cheap younger brother, Jiang Tian, the second son of the Jiang family who is half-brother and half-mother in Jiangnan. Similarly, it was also the second young master, heard from the two people who had assassinated the original body when Jiangnan woke up. This young master Jiang Heir, unlike his original playboy, is a famous young talent in Nanshan city. Not only did he become a scholar at a young age, but he also reached the 8th grade in martial arts. So, after the incident with Lady Chu, Prince Jiang was unlucky one after another, losing money at the casino and causing embarrassment in the brothel. Even discerning people could see that there must be some tricks behind it, but the Jiang family chose to turn a blind eye. In fact, out of their optimism for Prince Jiang, who was both civil and military, they tacitly gave up on him as a playboy and spendthrift. Upon hearing that his elder brother had returned safely, Jiang Lao immediately approached him and deliberately made sarcastic remarks in an attempt to gather information. However, that's also the truth from the second person's heart. A dandy waist, naturally only suitable for playing with a playboy's fan, what kind of sword to match? Jiangnan raised his eyes and glanced indifferently at the cheap younger brother who was the mastermind behind the scenes. He calmly uttered 4 words. "It's none of your business." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Father and Son. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 5, Brother Jiang, thank you for helping your brother get the top spot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5, Brother Jiang, thank you for helping your brother get the top spot in his past life. Jiangnan once read a survey questionnaire online. Q. If you travel back to ancient times, what would you most want to do? 2 of the top 3 answers are surprising. 1 is to legally marry N wives. 1 is to legally go shopping in brothels. The oppression of modern men can be seen from this. As a famous playboy in Nanshan City, he is not unfamiliar with the largest brothel in Nanshan City, Chunfeng Tower. It can even be said that it has a profound memory. When Jiang Degongzi was at his peak, he threw 3,000 taels of silver to seize the first night power of a new flower leader in Chunfeng Tower among many competitors. The darkest time of the original body also happens in this Spring Breeze Tower. After emptying the small treasury and winning numerous competitors, he successfully entered the courtesan's boudoir. It was time for him to be proud and worth $1,000, but something embarrassing happened that was hard for a man to talk about. In the original memory, there is still a clear imprint of the flower leader's almost undisguised disdain at that time. Let Jiangnan feel that even if he returns to the battlefield in the future, recalling the embarrassment of that moment, he may still unconsciously become a deserter. People say that childhood shadows are scary. The psychological shadow of this adult is not inferior at all. Just being despised by that flower leader is enough. After all, it is a private matter, only heaven knows and earth knows, you know and I know. Unexpectedly, the next day, this matter spread like wings and spread throughout the entire Nanshan city. There are also boards with eyes. What is even more difficult for Prince Jiang to accept is that the source of the story is undoubtedly his closest comrade in arms, the second young master of the Qin family. Sorting out the memories of the original body, Jiangnan easily found a suspicious point. After winning the championship, this fox friend once offered his original body a glass of good wine soaked in tiger whips in the name of congratulations. Then, not long after, an embarrassing incident occurred in the boudoir. Undoubtedly, the problem lies in this glass of wine. The original body is really stupid. Jiangnan sighed in his heart. And jokingly, I don't know if this counts as self-cursing. Shout. Young Master Jiang, you haven't come yet. Are you listening to music or? The welcoming madam at the entrance of the Spring Breeze Tower is as enthusiastic as ever. However, Jiangnan clearly felt the surprise and ridicule hidden behind this false enthusiasm. I don't blame this madam. Anyone who sees someone who is said to have hidden secrets coming to such a place will have such thoughts. Sure enough. Someone who knew Prince Jiang in the hall immediately activated the gossip mode. Ha! Why did he come? Didn't he say he couldn't do that? What's the use of coming? Hey! Can't we just indulge in it? That's right. I heard that eunuchs with power in the palace can also get married. Aren't eunuchs equally incapable? What eunuch got married? They call it paired eating. It's just eating relative to each other, comforting each other's loneliness. They don't go to bed. Cut it. You haven't seen it before, how do you know not to go to bed? That's it. Hey. Maybe, the young Master Jiang really plans to. Hee hee. Hee 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 hee. A group of old prostitutes were laughing profusely one after another. Even if Jiangnan had been prepared for it, it was like a thorn in the back, with a hot cheek. He asked the madam about the private room where the second young master of the Qin family was located, and immediately ran in as if fleeing. The laughter of the old prostitutes behind me was even more unrestrained. Occasionally, there are screams from the girls. It seems that discussing other people's gossip while getting started is more likely to make men excited. Pushing open the largest private room of the Spring Breeze Tower, the scene inside made Jiangnan slightly stunned. In the private room, besides inviting the second young master of the Qin family, there were 7 or 8 other young men. They are all the fox friends and dog friends that Mr. Jiang used to eat, drink, and have fun with. Everyone is leaning against this girl from the Spring Breeze Tower. Among them, the one held in the arms of the second young master of the Qin family was undoubtedly the flower leader who had been contested by Jiang Dagong for 3,000 taels of flowers. Yo ho, Lao Jiang, you've calculated it. The second young master of the Qin family exaggerated and exclaimed. He didn't get up either. He was still moving around in the flower leader's clothes with one hand, and casually pointed to the empty seat at the bottom with the other. You're late, you can only sit in that seat. Hee hee, do you mind? You should know that as the eldest son of the Jiang family, one of the 3 major families in Nanshan City, Prince Jiang has the highest status among this group of fox friends and dog friends. In the past, he used to sit in the main seat. The second young master of the Qin family's move was obviously intended to give Jiangnan a boost from the beginning. Haha. Naturally don't mind. Our brothers, we've played with guns together through the window. Since we came out to play together, it doesn't matter where we sit. Jiangnan laughed and approached the second young master of the Qin family. Walking up to the second young master of the Qin family, who was eagerly waiting to see jokes from Jiangnan, he pushed his bucktooth out of the chair and turned his head to smile at the bucktooth who was about to get angry, saying, Xiaoba, do you think so? This little 8 is the daily nickname for bucktooth. Originally, this bucktooth was just an ordinary merchant's son and couldn't squeeze into the circle of Jiang Dagongzi and others. However, there are 7 sisters on the buck teeth, each as beautiful as a flower. The dad with buck teeth, as a typical businessman, naturally wouldn't waste such resources. After a series of money-throwing operations, they all married into wealthy families such as political and business families in Nanshan City. The Bucktooth family naturally rose with the tide. The second young master of the Qin family is one of the brother-in-law of Bucktooth. Jiangnan is not here, and the little 8 with buck teeth, holding onto the thigh of the second youngest of the Qin family, has now sat in a position second only to the main throne. You. Bucktooth Xiaoba got up from the ground, wanting to say a few harsh words to save face. However, fearing the identity of the eldest son of the Jiang family in Jiangnan, he opened his mouth and only uttered the word, "You." He was startled and shut up, and sat in a disheveled position at the bottom of the position pointed out to Jiangnan by the second young master of the Qin family. The expression of the second young master of the Qin family, which was originally full of jokes, froze in an instant, and a hint of gloom flashed through. Then, turning slightly to his side, he pretended to be intimate and patted Jiangnan's shoulder, smiling and saying, "Old Jiang, it's only been a few days since we last saw each other, and you've become savage. I heard you're going to the countryside, isn't it?" Before the second young master of the Qin family could finish speaking, he was slapped heavily on the back of his hand by Jiangnan's backhand, reprimanding him, "What, old Jiang? No big or small. You have to call him Brother Jiang. Damn it. You're really here." The second young master of the Qin family exclaimed in surprise, withdrew his swollen arm from the back of his hand, and stood up angrily. Finally, the left hand pulled out from the flower leader's clothes. "It's damp. Is it possible that what you came here is fake?" Jiangnan sat still and raised his eyes to ask. A pun. The second young master of the Qin family's face changed and he smiled, "Ha. Our brothers, of course, are all real. Even more real than gold." Sitting down again, he hugged the flower leader beside him and reached his hand in again. I don't know if it's to vent the suppressed anger or to deliberately show it to Jiangnan to anger him. The second young master of the Qin family's move was extremely heavy, and the flower leader couldn't help but whimper, "Sir, please be gentle, it hurts." Upon hearing this, the second young master of the Qin family acted even more vigorously. He turned the head of the flower head and approached Jiangnan, laughing loudly. "Jianggu, when it comes to speaking, I have to thank you. I spent 3,000 taels of silver, but missed the chance to hit the door and instead let my brother take advantage of it and win the first prize." Ha ha ha. The people in the private room couldn't help but burst into laughter at the reminder from the second young master of the Qin family. Even the girls from the Spring Breeze Tower are no exception. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. 10-Year Dream of Nanshan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. 10-Year Dream of Nanshan. Jiangnan's face remained unchanged, and he glanced at the nearby flower leader. A seductive slut who can barely reach 80 points. Compared to the immortal sister who was in a hurry to defecate that Jiangnan met on the road, she was not even worthy of lifting her shoes. After everyone finished laughing, he solemnly said to the second young master of the Qin family, as the saying goes, reciprocity is a matter of reciprocity. Since Qin's younger brother insists on thanking him, why don't you let Jiang take advantage of me next time you take a concubine and give me a head start? How about that? You. The second young master of the Qin family's anger surged. The divine reciprocity. Besides, how can a courtesan from a brothel compare to his own openly married concubine? These aristocratic young masters, although they are all good at running into brothels and fighting fiercely, would never be willing to marry a brothel woman as their concubine. Even like in Jiangnan, comparing a brothel woman to her concubine is a great insult. Although home flowers may not be as fragrant as wild flowers, how can wild flowers ascend to the hall of elegance? Anyone with some status cannot afford to lose this person. When people go to the brothel to play, they only smile and say that they are young and promiscuous. If they really marry a brothel woman, it's just a joke poking their spine. What's wrong? Qin heir, can't you afford to play? Jiangnan stared at the angry second young master of the Qin family with a smile on his face. What does it mean that you can't afford to play? Mr. Jiang, it's clear that you're changing concepts, okay? If you have the ability, let's play something else. The second young master of the Qin family was obviously not a fuel-efficient lamp. After getting angry, he didn't lose his rationality, but instead changed the topic and led the Jiangnan army. Okay. What do you mean to play with? Jiangnan asked nonchalantly. After tinkering for so long, Jiangnan finally realized that the second young master of the Qin family invited him to come, just to find ways to humiliate himself and make a fool of himself, so he didn't have the face to continue staying in Nanshan City. Just like the scandal that happened last time in this Spring Breeze Tower. Thinking of this, Jiangnan quickly added, as long as you don't play with women. Ha ha ha. Jiang Buju, are you afraid? Ha ha ha. The second young master of the Qin family openly mocked. What are you afraid of? Jiangnan retorted solemnly, don't use your narrow-minded thoughts to distort my greatness. That's because I'm already different from before. From today on, I want to be a noble person, a pure person, a moral person, a person who is free from vulgar tastes, a person who is beneficial to the people. You understand? What kind of thing? The second young master of the Qin family asked with a question mark on his face. That's to say, if I want to play, I'll only play with elegant things. Jiangnan's disdainful gaze swept over the flower head who was held in his arms like the second youngest child of the Qin family, with a disdainful expression on his face. Just thinking about it, it makes me feel nauseous. The question mark on the face of the second young master of the Qin family has increased but not decreased. I only felt that there was something in Jiangnan dialect, and what I said seemed very reasonable. After careful consideration, I couldn't quite understand. The second young master of the Qin family naturally does not want to appear in front of his opponents as if he cannot understand a word. Moving on to the topic again, he patted the Huakuei's thigh in his arms and exclaimed, okay. Since you, Mr. Jiang, want to play with something elegant, let's play with it. Qin's second son said, turning his head and shouting at the door of the wing room, elegance. Where is elegance? Hurry up and call elegance to me. Master, Gaoyet died a while ago, didn't you know? The flower leader in the arms of the second young master of the Qin family reminded him carefully. Oh. How did you die? She offended a guest from the north and was directly beaten to death by silver, said the Huakuei in an inexplicable tone, clearly feeling mixed, unsure if it was due to feelings of concern or something else. Oh. So Gaoye has already been smashed to death by money. The second young master of the Qin family nodded as if he had a sudden realization, vigorously pinched the Huakuei in his arms, and then exaggerated and spread his hand towards Jiangnan, saying, look, it's really unfortunate. Pushi. The buck-toothed Xiaoba, who was squeezed away by Jiangnan, couldn't help but laugh out loud. Other fox friends and dog friends also laughed along. Only a few brothel women like the flower queen couldn't laugh. Jiangnan rolled his eyes in anger. It was only then that I remembered that there was indeed a woman named Gaoye in the Spring Breeze Tower. It's not really unfortunate. What a coincidence. I didn't know how to answer the conversation for a moment. Simply watched the second young master of the Qin family quietly, waiting for him to continue performing. After laughing, the second young master of the Qin family finally felt a bit of an advantage. However, looking at the expressionless Jiangnan, the feeling of winning is not refreshing enough. With a big wave of his hand, he decided to pursue the victory. Haha. I was just joking earlier. Since Mr. Jiang wants to play something elegant, let's have the poetry recitation in drinking order that scholars often play with. I'm sure you've heard of the rules before. Draw up a theme, and each person takes turns writing poetry. If you can't write it, or if it's not done well, you'll be fined 3 cups of wine. No, 3 bowls. How about that? Before inviting Jiangnan to Chunfeng Tower, the second young master of the Qin family had planned at least 18 ways to make Jiangnan look embarrassed. This chanting of poetry and wine is just one of them. Jiangnan actively proposed to play with elegance, but in fact, it hit the nail on the head of the second young master of the Qin family. The eldest son of the Jiang family is ignorant and inexperienced, and most of the Nanshan city knows about it. Compared to poetry. I'm sorry, the second young master of the Qin family has already made up his mind. Once he gets drunk in Jiangnan, he will strip off his clothes and throw them onto the bed. Then he will find 2 turtle slaves to feed them medicine and lock them together. Well, when time is up, he will find an excuse to lead everyone into the room. That scene is too beautiful, not to mention looking, I can't even think of it. The second young master of the Qin family believes that once this matter is spread again, even if the eldest son of the Jiang family is not expelled from the family, there is no possibility of a comeback. Dare not. It's a man's, just one sentence, urged the second young master of the Qin family loudly. As you wish, Jiangnan nodded. Okay. Since we are in the Spring Breeze Tower, let's take Qinglu as the topic. The second young master of the Qin family didn't wait for Jiangnan to raise objections and directly said, I'll come first. Then, like an endorsement, he memorized a 7-character poem that had already been prepared. Setting aside the true author of the poem, the content is indeed of some level. Okay. Amazing. Qin Ershao, what a great talent. The level of poetry recitation is so good that even if you take the imperial examination, you will definitely have no problem. What kind of scholar is a successful candidate? If Qin Ershao wants to take the exam, he will be the top scorer and easily caught. The fox friends and dog friends in the field flattered like a tide. It's over. The top scorer doesn't want to talk nonsense. However, there is still a chance to explore the top spot. The second young master of the Qin family casually humbly said a few words, and then looked at Jiangnan proudly, how about it? Jiang, it's your turn. If you're afraid, you can drink directly. Hee hee. Are you also called poetry? Jiangnan sneered disdainfully. If you have the ability, you can also do one. Before the second young master of the Qin family could speak up, there were henchmen helping to shout. That's right. If you have the ability, you can do it too. Just talk without practicing fake tricks. Listen. Jiangnan cleared his throat, stood up, and said in a loud voice, Today, it's both a fitting occasion and a farewell to the past. Jiangnan began reciting word by word. Carrying wine in the underworld, with a slender waist and a light palm. After 10 years of dreaming of the South Mountain, I won the title of Bo Xing. In the brothel the entire wing suddenly fell silent, even the brothel women who had been trying their best to please the benefactors around them all stopped their movements. The second young master of the Qin family had a slightly unpleasant expression on his face. Even though he is as ignorant and inexperienced as the original young master Jiang, he can vaguely feel the extraordinary nature of this poem. Good poetry, like a gift from heaven, has its own unique artistic conception and rhythm. Even illiterate ordinary people can produce emotions upon hearing it. Especially for the women sitting in brothels, they are all high-level artists who have received specialized training and have a higher level of proficiency than those sitting in the brothels. Their reactions are the most intuitive. The second young master of the Qin family looked at the crowd that seemed to be shaken, his sinister eyes purring and coughing lightly. The buck-toothed little ape, who seemed to be chewing on poetry, suddenly became aroused and stood up like a conditioned reflex, pretending to disdain and shouting loudly, What kind of nonsense is this writing about? Other lackeys also reacted and began to shout. That's it. Is this also considered poetry? It's just nonsense. Yes, it's incomparable to what Qin Ershao wrote. Not bad. I think so too. Me too. The expression of the second young master of the Qin family finally returned to his pride, and his expression towards Jiangnan was full of provocation. It seems to be saying. Little sample, even if you copy good poetry, what? In the heart of the second young master of the Qin family, he would never believe that the eldest son of the Jiang family, who was half the weight of himself, could make such a masterpiece. Most likely, just like myself, I copied from elsewhere. Unfortunately, even if you are lucky enough to copy ahead of time, it will be a waste. The second young master of the Qin family sneered in his heart. The judges are all on my side, and from the beginning, I have been in charge of the evaluation results. Looking at the second young master of the Qin family, who looked like he had a winning ticket in front of him, Jiangnan's eyes narrowed slightly and he spoke calmly. Why, can't you afford to lose? Play this game with me. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Brotherhood Wall. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Brotherhood Wall, What Can't Afford to Lose. The second young master of the Qin family laughed heartily and said, It's clear that you lost. Ha ha ha. Don't believe it, you ask everyone. The second youngest of the Qin family pointed to the crowd present. That's right. It's clear that Qin Ershao won. The doglegs present responded one after another, like a group of ugly flies. What's going on? I'm right. Jiang, it's you who lost. The second young master of the Qin family was proud and stood up with a wine bowl, ready to let Jiangnan drink the fine wine. No. You lost. Jiangnan spoke indifferently. The second young master of the Qin family was taken aback and was about to say, It's all like this. You're still talking tough. A cold light flashed before my eyes. A cold followed closely around the neck. When he lowered his eyebrows and looked, a long sword had already been placed on his neck. What's even more deadly is that a strand of long hair in front of the forehead fluttered lightly from the edge of the sword. You actually know martial arts, exclaimed the second young master of the Qin family. Is this strange? Jiangnan asked lightly. No. Mr. Jiang, brother Jiang, could you take the sword away first? This is not for fun, it's very dangerous. The second young master of the Qin family said nervously, trying to reach out and move the sword body. The sword blade pressed against the neck suddenly tightened. I suddenly dare not move again. Brother Jiang, you're hiding so deep. The second young master of the Qin family smiled bitterly. We've been friends for many years, but I didn't know your martial arts were so amazing. Although the second young master of the Qin family is afraid of hardship and has not practiced martial arts for a few days, he was born into a big family, but he has also encountered many martial arts masters, so his eyesight is naturally not bad. The sword from Jiangnan just now, in the blink of an eye, not only cut off the soft and unstressed hair without harming anyone, but also put the long sword around his neck. That is to say, if the other party just wanted to kill themselves, they had already died twice. The brilliance of swordsmanship cannot be achieved by ordinary beginners. Subconsciously, the second young master of the Qin family naturally believed that it was Prince Jiang who had secretly practiced martial arts before, deceiving himself and everyone. I'll ask you, who won just now? Jiangnan held a long sword in his hand, his gaze cold. The second young master of the Qin family's expression froze, his heart full of admiration, but he had to smile and say, You won. Of course you won. What are you still staring at? Drink it. Jiangnan's gaze swept over the freshly filled wine bowl of the second young master of the Qin family, his voice teasing. The second young master of the Qin family had an unpleasant expression on his face and gritted his teeth, saying, Drink. I'll drink. Trembling leisurely, go get the wine bowl. Approaching his mouth, he took a big sip and as he swallowed it, his throat trembled, feeling the long sword attached to his neck also trembling. The second young master of the Qin family was trembling with fear and dared not drink any more, fearing that he would tremble violently. The cold blade of his sword directly cut through his neck. Jiang, can you take the sword away first before drinking? The second young master of the Qin family pleaded with a bitter face. Jiangnan moved his sword a bit and placed it on the shoulder of the second young master of the Qin family. The second young master of the Qin family finally breathed a sigh of relief. Not daring to neglect, he drank all 3 bowls of wine in one breath. Look, I've finished drinking it all. This sword. The second young master of the Qin family flipped over the wine bowl that had not left a drop of wine, and cautiously hinted. Is it better than that? Jiangnan raised his sword and patted the cheek of the second young master of the Qin family. No comparison. No comparison. The second young master of the Qin family shook his head busily. Let's talk about it. What benefits did the person behind your back promise you? What is the person behind it? Nothing, denied the second young master of the Qin family. Didn't you? Not really. So why are you targeting me? Well, it's my own debauchery, I'm a bit drifting. Yes, I'm just drifting. The Qin family's second son said something and even gave himself a backhand kiss. Ha ha ha. You're also capable of bending and stretching, Jiangnan sincerely praised. Hee hee. How can I compare to you, brother Jiang? The second son of the Qin family nodded and bowed, with a silly smile on his face. Jiangnan frowned. This sounds like a curse to me. I have no intention of getting entangled with this goods again. As the legitimate lineage of the three major families in Nanshan city, it is impossible to do anything to them in front of everyone. To scare and intimidate, just vent your anger for now, that's enough. As for the person behind it, it goes without saying that Jiangnan can also guess. The reason for asking is just to give a warning in advance and scare the snake. And endure for a few more days, waiting to accumulate enough strength. The Jiangnan long sword returned to its sheath without bidding farewell to the crowd. It opened the door to the side room and left from the bustling Spring Breeze Tower. Behind me, there was a faint sound of smashing things. Traveling slowly in Jiangnan, looking east and west. I have been in this world for a few days now, and it is the first time I have carefully appreciated the scenery of this world. Although there are memories inherited from the original body, the feelings in the memory are never as clear as being in person. Unconsciously, I have walked to a sparsely populated alley. Jiangnan's heart suddenly moved, he stopped, turned his head, and whispered, "Come out." Pop pop. Master Jiang, it's not as simple as the legend says. A dignified man in brocade appeared from a corner of the house not far away, patting his palm. Tracking the tail doesn't seem like your style, Grand Prince Qin. Jiangnan raised his eyebrows and said indifferently. This person is known in Jiangnan, and he is undoubtedly the eldest brother of the second young master of the Qin family just now, the eldest young master of the Qin family. Unlike the half-father and half-mother of Jiangnan and Jiang Lao, this eldest son of Qin and the second youngest son of the Qin family are siblings of the same mother. Similarly, unlike his original form of playboy waist, this young master of the Qin family is also as skilled in both literature and martial arts as Jiang Lao. He took over some of the Qin family's industries early on and is a famous young talent in Nanshan city. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. So, even though I have known this Grand Prince Qin for many years due to my identity, there is not much interaction between me and him. Haha. Brother Jiang, I apologize for coming so quickly, but I misunderstood him. Qin Grand Prince politely apologized. Qin Gongzi asked me for something. I have something to do. Qin, the eldest son, changed his tone and said, Brother Jiang, do you know why my second brother set up a trap against you? Why? Because someone promised to overthrow Brother Jiang and help him compete for the position of inheritor of our Qin family, said Prince Qin with a slightly sinister expression. Oh. Brother Jiang is not curious. Who is the person who made the promise? What's hard to guess about this? Jiangnan said lightly, it's nothing more than the Second Alliance or something like that. Second Alliance. Haha. This statement is really interesting. Brother Jiang is really amazing. Qin Grand Prince praised sincerely, that way, I can work with Brother Jiang more confidently. Collaboration. That's right. I know my younger brother has set up multiple traps to frame Brother Jiang. Just now, in the Spring Wind Tower, he wanted to take action against Brother Jiang again, but was defeated by Brother Jiang with his strength. However, this also exposed Brother Jiang's secret of martial arts skills. So what? Prince Qin was slightly taken aback and said, Brother Jiang, do you really don't know, or are you pretending not to know? If Brother Jiang exposes his martial arts skills, the people behind the scenes will inevitably feel a sense of crisis and accelerate the strengthening of measures against Brother Jiang. As the saying goes, a clear spear is easy to dodge, but a hidden arrow is difficult to defend against. Brother Jiang used to have a bad reputation for hiding his light and nurturing his character, and without support from the Jiang family, it would be difficult to deal with. Prince Qin spoke and patted his sturdy chest, saying, if Brother Jiang cooperates with me and becomes an ally, with my support, the situation will definitely be much better. Not only in the Qin family, but also able to utilize a lot of resources. What do Brother Jiang think? Prince Qin stared into Jiangnan's eyes, full of anticipation. There is no free lunch in the world. So, what do I need to do for you, Lord Qin? Brother Jiang is indeed a happy person. Then I won't beat around the bush anymore. Qin, the young master, gritted his teeth fiercely. My younger brother, who is inexperienced, is actually overestimated and ambitious. This time, after suffering losses in Brother Jiang's hands, he will definitely not give up and will think of other sinister moves to attack Brother Jiang again. At that time, I ask Brother Jiang not to stay behind and eliminate this calamity for our Jiang family. Don't worry, Brother Jiang. I have collected all the evidence that my younger brother set up a bureau to frame him. It is enough to prove that Brother Jiang is just defending himself. Even if there is some pressure, I will help Brother Jiang withstand it when the time comes. Prince Qin deliberately supplemented in an attempt to dispel the worries of Jiangnan. Really? Are you just so optimistic about me? That's natural. Brother Jiang has been able to endure for so many years, and what he has planned is not small. Choosing to expose now shows that his strength has accumulated enough. Qin, the eldest son, looked through everything and said, let's cooperate, that's a strong alliance. In the future, please support each other with Brother Jiang. Our two families work together to break through the Nanshan city, and it's not impossible. Sigh. Jiangnan looked at Lord Qin in front of him, his eyes shining with complacency, and sighed slightly. I don't know if Lord Qin has ever heard a word. What words? Different ways do not conspire with each other. What do you mean? What do you mean? Prince Qin suppressed his anger and asked in a deep voice. He admitted that he had lowered his posture enough. Even though this young master of the Jiang family has been hiding his time for so many years, he may not be able to match himself. Such a posture has already given face to Jiangnan. Unexpectedly, I was polite, but the other party was not polite at all. That's right, I have no interest in the position of the head of the Jiang family. As for what you said, breaking out of the Nanshan city is also not interesting. As for killing those who should be killed, as long as the time comes, there is no need to cooperate with anyone for easy matters. To be honest, Jiangnan. I don't believe it. Grandpa Qin shouted wildly. Whether you believe it or not, that's the truth. Jiangnan shrugged apologetically, for the sake of not being enemies, let's pretend we've never met before today. The struggle for power and position is the most dirty and troublesome thing. In this world, with the supernatural powers of the heavenly thief's claw present, it is impossible for Jiangnan to stay in such a small place as Nanshan City all the time. The world is so big and the rivers and lakes are so exciting, it's natural to go and see it. If you really agree to the alliance with Prince Qin, you will inevitably be entangled in many bullshit stories. Wasting time is harmful but not beneficial. Moreover, collaborating with such a ruthless person who even plans to kill his own brother is like seeking skin from a tiger. Perhaps, after Jiangnan really kills the second young master of the Qin family, not only will the other party not help to share the pressure, but they will also be the first to take action against Jiangnan to prove their deep brotherhood and gain the favor of the family. Kill two birds with one arrow, using Jiangnan as an upper pedal. You. Impossible. You're too crazy too. Prince Qin was furious and his long sword clanged out of its sheath, saying, "Since you don't know how to raise it, let me weigh it. You've been hiding for so long, what kind of powerful means have you hidden?" End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Going to the brothel without giving money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Going to the brothel without giving money, I took it. Brother Jiang is indeed very secretive. I am convinced. Prince Qin glanced at the long sword hanging around his neck and smiled cautiously. Just now, Prince Qin drew his long sword and wanted to weigh the weight of Jiangnan. However, halfway through the sword, his neck was already cold. As an 8th grade internal breathing master and an outstanding young man in Shannon City who is even more popular than the second son of the Jiang family, he surprisingly failed to see clearly how Jiangnan could wield his sword and was already defeated by the opponent's sword. In addition to being shocked, Prince Qin couldn't help but secretly feel relieved. Fortunately, Jiangnan had no intention of killing him, otherwise with this sword just now, he had already separated from his body. At this moment, Prince Qin suddenly had some faith in what Jiangnan had just said, saying that he was not interested in the position of the head of the family. How could such a master be trapped in a small Nanshan city? His sky is destined to be the whole world. What Prince Qin didn't know was that what Jiangnan knew was only the ghost shadow and shadow sword technique in the realm of Xiaocheng. Although the sword moves were fast, the strength on the sword was very average. If you really want to kill him, that sword may be blocked by the internal forces of the bones and automatic body protection in the moment it cuts through the skin and flesh. The 8th grade internal breathing has already opened up the 12 meridians in the body, and the internal energy circulates continuously, possessing a certain degree of automatic protection. And the blade is light and thin, requiring a considerable amount of strength to break bones. No matter how strong the ghost shadow and shadow sword technique is, the caster Jiangnan lacks internal power support. If it is not directly stabbed at vital points such as the throat and heart, the damage it can cause will ultimately be limited. So, although it may cause serious injury, it may not necessarily lead to death, let alone cutting off one's head. Lord Qin doesn't know these things, so Jiangnan naturally wouldn't take the initiative to say them. With a calm expression on his face, he withdrew his long sword and spoke softly, "As I said, we are not enemies. Of course, I don't mind having another enemy like you. Do you understand?" "Understood. Understood." Prince Qin nodded eagerly. "From now on, Brother Jiang, you will be my beloved family and friend, brothers and sisters. Brother Jiang has orders, but I dare not disobey them. If Brother Jiang has no orders, I dare not disturb you." "Stop, stop. Just remember the last sentence and don't disturb me if you have nothing to do." "Yes." "So, goodbye." "Goodbye." Prince Qin looked at the fleeing Jiangnan in surprise, feeling that the master's actions were so unique. "I feel somewhat envious in my heart." Little did they know that it was his words of beloved relatives and friends, brothers and sisters, that frightened Jiangnan, fearing that he would say, "I need to pay more," again. Returning to his own courtyard in Jiangfu, Jiangnan practiced the Lingding sword technique, which he had just stolen from Prince Qin, as usual. Not afraid of not knowing the goods, just afraid of comparing goods. The Qin family, who was originally well known in Nanshan City, passed down the Lingding sword technique. However, due to the presence of the ghost shadow and mistaken sword, with the pearl jade in front, it immediately disappointed Jiangnan. "I think it's better to steal an ordinary martial arts skill from the family guard casually. However, on second thought, ghost shadow and shadow sword is so powerful that it must have an extraordinary origin and cannot be used casually. I have an ordinary background in the art of Lingding sword, which can sometimes be used in emergency situations." Grand Master. The voice of the steward of the Jiang family suddenly came from outside the courtyard. "Come in. Young master, did you go to the Spring Breeze Tower today? The steward asked directly. Not bad. What's wrong? Just now, the madam from the Spring Breeze Tower came to her door and said, Young master, you invited guests to eat at the Spring Breeze Tower and even ordered 8 girls. However, you left without paying. The steward's expression was complex. Now, the news that young master went to the Spring Breeze Tower without paying has already spread. I'm crazy. Jiangnan cursed inwardly. I never expected that the second young master of the Qin family's methods would be so despicable. Although he invited Jiangnan to the Spring Breeze Tower, he left the matter to Jiangnan. Obviously, seeing that the Spring Breeze Tower was unable to gain control of Jiangnan, they came up with such a despicable plan. Although the means are simple and straightforward, they are practical and effective. With the reputation of Prince Jiang in the past, coupled with the help of kind-hearted people, even if Jiangnan explains, no one will believe it. The eldest son of the Jiang family goes to the brothel to play with girls without paying. This topic is definitely a hot headline. Regardless of the actual situation, the Jiang family, one of the 3 major families in Shannon City, has once again suffered a great loss. And then what? Jiangnan suppressed his anger and asked. A few clan elders who heard about this matter approached the master and accused the eldest young master of corrupting the family tradition. They asked the master to punish the eldest young master. What did my father say? The master said, let's set off now and go to that rural mine. The coachman is already waiting at the door. Oh. Young master, why don't you go and apologize to the elders? The steward suggested cautiously, the countryside is too remote due to its high mountains and long roads. The manager hesitates to speak. No need. Could you please inform Song Tuling? Previously, my father approved and asked him to go to the countryside with me. Song Tu led a cup of tea and had already left. Someone reported that they had found the bodies of old Wang and Bai Nyang. Song Tu led them to search for clues. It's estimated that they won't be able to come back in the short term. Ha! Jiangnan sneered coldly. Even the 3 swords of Song have been taken away, and indeed they are linked one by one. Young master, what's wrong? The steward asked. It's okay. You go down. Yes. Be careful on the way, young master. The steward bowed and bid farewell. When it comes to the affairs of the main household and serving as servants, they cannot participate or cooperate. A subtle reminder has already taken a great risk. Jiangnan is alone and has nothing to tidy up. Clothes, silver, fire folds, salt, daggers and other essential items can be easily packed in a small package. Finally, Jiangnan deliberately took 2 more packs of lime and hid them in his arms. This was prepared on the first day when I returned to Jiangfu. Originally, there was only 1 bag hidden on my body, but this time I left, I don't know what kind of trouble I will encounter, so I decided to bring more. Without Song Sandao, Jiangnan will not bid farewell to anyone. In the strange eyes of the servants in the mansion, they got onto the carriage waiting at the door and whispered. Let's go. The inexperienced coachman gently raised his whip, and the carriage creaked away from Jiang Mansion. All the way out of the city, nothing happened. In the evening, passing by a dangerous cliff, the carriage suddenly stopped. The coachman turned his head and said to Jiangnan through the front window, Young master, there is a fallen tree ahead that blocks the way. I'll move it. Please wait in the car for a while. Okay. Jiangnan responded. Lifting a corner of the car curtain, I saw a thigh-thick tree lying across the road ahead, with lush branches covering most of the road. It looks like it's been blown down by the wind. However, as his gaze swept over the tail of the tree trunk, Jiangnan's heart skipped a beat. The body technique of riding the wind and crossing the sea was instantly activated, and it flew out of the carriage. Tong! A loud bang. Turning around, I saw that the carriage I had just taken had been shattered by a huge rock. Even the horse pulling the cart had half of its body smashed into flesh and mud. The Jiangnan vest that Can avoided was sweating profusely. If it weren't for discovering traces of artificial logging at the end of the trunk in a timely manner and possessing the lightness skill of riding the wind and crossing the sea, I thought the other party would launch an assassin, but with my own martial arts skills, I am not afraid. Unexpectedly, it was using the environment to create car accidents. Grand Master. The driver who was moving the tree trunk turned his head and exclaimed in surprise. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Stabbing to death with a sword from below. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Stabbing to death with a sword from below. Young master, are you okay? The coachman exclaimed in surprise. Jiangnan stared fixedly at the coachman for a while, unable to determine whether the coachman was involved in this matter. Did you die? At this moment, someone leaned out from the cliff to look around. What a thief! The coachman roared and jumped over a foot high. My toes touched the cliff a little and then rose several feet. Then, grabbing a branch and using his strength, he jumped up again and rushed towards the person on the cliff. Jiangnan was slightly surprised that the coachman was actually a master. The person on the cliff was startled and hurriedly retreated. There was another person behind him who raised his sword and headed towards the coachman. Madame Che was in mid-air, unable to dodge, so she hurriedly made a 1,000-pounds drop and let her body fall down the same path. Haha. Go eat shit. The person on the cliff laughed heartily, picked up stones the size of their heads, stood high and threw them at the coachman who had just fallen to the ground. The coachman had to dodge one after another, feeling quite embarrassed. Third, let's go. After smashing more than 10 stones, someone called out on the cliff. All right. Kid, let me take another shot of the flying stone from beyond. The person who threw the stone burst out laughing and threw down the last stone in their hand, immediately retracting their head. It seems like evacuation. The coachman looked at the height of the cliff with an angry expression on his face, but he didn't dare to chase after it recklessly. The other party occupies a favorable location, and there is more than one person. If it's just a fake evacuation, ambushing in the dark, and waiting for oneself to climb the cliff with nowhere to focus, and falling into a chaotic rock, the consequences would be unimaginable. After being cautious for a long time, there was no movement on the cliff. The coachman then approached Jiangnan and asked. Young master, are you not injured? Who are you? I met the Jiang family and it seems like I haven't seen you before. Jiangnan remained guarded. My name is Li Chen, and I was a named disciple of Master Song who came to Nanshan city. I didn't live in the Jiang family before, so the eldest son naturally didn't see me. The coachman explained, today at noon, when Master Song left, he entrusted me to protect the eldest son. Oh. Did Uncle Song say anything else? Master Song said, please be careful with your actions, young master. He will come and join us as soon as possible. The coachman Li Chen comforted, don't worry, young master. Those few thieves just now were just ordinary thieves, they just took advantage of the land. If we move to another place, it's not a big deal. Brotherly has extraordinary skills, so I naturally feel at ease. I wonder what kind of martial arts realm Brotherly has reached. It's only last year that I just broke through the 8th level internal breathing. Although he claimed to be not talented, Li Chen's tone was quite arrogant. Amazing. Jiangnan thumbed up and praised. Compared to real experts in the martial arts world, there is still a long way to go. The carriage was broken, and the two had to walk. Fortunately, Li Chen was quite familiar with the surrounding roads, and after walking for over half an hour, he found a post station. The two of them requested 2 adjacent guest rooms and had the waiter deliver food. They made do with dinner in the room. Young master, if you have anything to do, please shout out to me loudly. Li Chen solemnly instructed and returned to his room. Jiangnan spread out the blanket, stuffed the package and pillow inside, pretending to have someone sleeping. I held a long sword and hid under the bed. After finally enduring the test, he whispered to Li Chen in the next room, the claw of stealing heaven. The signature sword technique of Song Sandao, Thunderbolt Sandao, suddenly came to mind. Jiangnan finally felt relieved. Li Chen is indeed not lying, he is a disciple of Song Sandao. Close your eyes and lie under the bed to sleep. In a daze, the next room suddenly heard a loud shout. Who is that? Then came the sound of broken windows, as if Li Chen had chased out. Jiangnan suddenly lost all sleep, gripping his long sword and staring at the door with caution. After a while, the door creaked lightly and someone touched it in. The visitor glanced at the motionless disguise on the bed. I couldn't help but mutter softly, isn't it said that this useless person has hidden martial arts skills? Why is his vigilance so poor? Waste is waste. What about hiding martial arts skills, hiding one's sight and nurturing one's abilities, hee. The newcomer sneered and swaggered to the bedside, raising his long knife and fiercely slashing towards the center of the blanket. The place hit by the long sword is completely unaffected, which is completely different from the feeling of hitting the flesh. The visitor's heart thumped and suddenly realized something was wrong. Just as he was about to turn back his sword and guard himself, a gust of strong wind suddenly came from under the bed, and a hard object fiercely penetrated from under the stall. Oh whoa! The person let out a painful cry and reflexively jumped up with their legs clamped together. When it fell, the call had already stopped and the person fell to the ground with a loud cry. That thing poked too deeply, injuring the 5 internal organs, and ended up dead. Jiangnan was still worried and struggled to draw out his sticky long sword, then stabbed the person on the ground in the throat with a backhand strike. I slowly crawled out from under the bed. Closed the door and hid on the other side of the room, listening attentively to the outside noise. Young master. After a while, the shouting of Li Chen came back again. Jiangnan opens the door. Li Chen caught a glimpse of the corpse on the ground and was immediately shocked. Oh no! I fell for the trick of luring a tiger away from the mountain. Young master, are you not injured? Li Chen looked up and down at Jiangnan's whole body. It's okay. Jiangnan rubbed his sticky long sword against the corpse. Li Chen bent down and lifted the masked black scarf from her face. Ha! It's actually him. Do you know this person? Jiangnan asked. This is the gold medal hitter of the Poison Wolf gang in the city, ranking 4th, and also a cultivation level of the 8th level internal breathing realm. Li Chen stared at the long sword in Jiangnan's hand, which was stained with blood, with a shocked expression on his face. Young master, did you kill this person? Jiangnan nodded and said lightly, I hid under the bed, poked him from below, and he died. Li Chen only then noticed a puddle of something flowing out from under the body. Suddenly, there was a stir. Subconsciously pinched both legs. This is an 8th level internal breathing expert like myself. Unexpectedly, he was stabbed to death by the useless young master next to him who has always been known for being a playboy. If I accidentally do this to myself, can I resist it? Li Chen, who was originally somewhat proud of being an 8th grade internal breathing master, felt a chill in his heart. Young master, the members of the Poison Wolf gang are the most domineering in their actions. Now that this 4th son has died here, he will not give up easily. Let's leave overnight, suggested Li Chen. If we leave now, we can arrive at the rural mine before noon tomorrow. There are hundreds of Jiang family miners and mining guards in the mine. Even if the members of the Poison Wolf gang come, they can hold on for a while until my master arrives. Okay. Jiangnan pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. This Poison Wolf gang, also known to Jiangnan, is one of the several major gangs that occupy the underground of Nanshan City. Guild leader Poison Wolf, with a 7th grade meridian level, is cunning, with cruel and ruthless methods. Hundreds of subordinates make a living by collecting protection fees, offering high-interest loans, and extortion. It can be said that the reputation has spread far and wide. If placed in Nanshan City, Poison Wolf would definitely not dare to take action against the eldest son of the Jiang family. But when it's outside, it's hard to say. Especially as is well known, Jiangnan has become an abandoned son of the Jiang family. As long as the methods are clean and efficient, without leaving any leverage, and without damaging the reputation of the Jiang family. Believe it, no one cares about the life or death of an abandoned child. The two of them had nothing to pack and quietly left the post station. At this point, it was already the fourth watch. The four fields were silent, except for the half-round moon in the sky silently casting a clear light, faintly illuminating the mottled tree shadows on the road. Li Chen, who was walking rapidly, suddenly stopped in his footsteps and shouted towards Jiangnan. Be careful. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Carving Insects and Small Techniques to Kill the Old World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Carving Insects and Small Techniques to Kill the Old World. Jiang. Li Chen swung his knife and split open a dart that flew out of the tree shadow. Looking at the figure slowly emerging from the shadows, he shouted in a condensed voice. Is it you? Li Chen, being cautious, turned his head and explained to Jiangnan, this is the person who led me away just now. Take a closer look at Jiangnan. I found that this person was dressed the same as the fourth member of the Poison Wolf gang who was stabbed to death, with a black scarf on his face. I didn't expect that there would be such a master like you by the side of this playboy. The masked man stared at Li Chen in surprise and said, I remember, there doesn't seem to be someone like you among the guards of the Jiang family. Unexpectedly, your excellency is quite familiar with the affairs of my Jiang family, Jiangnan coldly replied. Hee, in our profession, we must first understand the situation of our opponents, otherwise, if we kick an iron plate, it won't be fun. The masked person calmly explained. How do you know that you didn't kick the iron plate today? Jiangnan asked in response. Iron plate. Are you talking about this kid? Ha ha ha. The masked man laughed heartily. I sighed, you really thought he was a master. I have killed at least 5 young men like this who have just entered the 8th grade. The masked man spoke and gestured with 5 fingers. The Jiang family's playboy is indeed very foolish and naive. Ha ha ha. The masked man smiled and seemed to suddenly remember something. He was slightly taken aback and said, Huh. How did you, a playboy, come out alive? Where are the old 4? Did you find the wrong room? He kicked the iron plate, maybe. Jiangnan smiled meaningfully. Ha. There are not so many iron plates in this world. The masked man sneered disdainfully. Are you Wei Fuzi, the second wolf of the Poison Wolf gang? Li Chen suddenly exclaimed in surprise, as if recognizing the identity of the masked person. Haha. You're quite knowledgeable, kid. The masked man chuckled proudly, I see that you're young and have already surpassed the 8th level of martial arts, which is also considered a bit of talent. How about this? You kill the playboy next to you and join my Poison Wolf gang, and I'll guarantee you the 5th place in the Poison Wolf gang. How about that? When Wei Fuzi saw Li Chen mention his name, he seemed to have a fearful expression and immediately had the idea of persuading surrender. I don't know if it's a genuine love for talent or a playful act of separation. Pooh. Upon hearing this, Li Chen immediately spat fiercely and cursed, why do you think the Poison Wolf gang is causing trouble for your side? Do you want me to collude with you? I don't know what it means. Okay, you ignorant kid. Wei Fuzi was furious and didn't care about asking his companions about their whereabouts. He drew his sword and stabbed Li Chen directly. Previously, it was discovered that the target had an expert like Li Chen by his side. In order to avoid exposing his identity with less effort, he deliberately led him away, so that old C could kill with ease. Unexpectedly, the fourth person went in for a long time without a response, but the two targets walked out. Li Chen is not included in the intelligence information of the Jiang family. As an old martial artist, Wei Fuzi deliberately talked about Li Chen's identity in order to ensure safety. Unexpectedly, this young man is ignorant and insults himself directly. As the second in command of hundreds of people under the Poison Wolf gang, how could Wei Fuzi continue to endure? Li Chen has also long heard of the name of Wei Fuzi, the second son of the Poison Wolf gang. It is said that in his early years, he also had the strength of 7th grade meridian communication, but later fell to 8th grade internal breathing due to injury. Even so, among the 8th grade cultivators, they are definitely the top few. So, only after recognizing his identity did Li Chen become so wary. However, Li Chen also knew that the other party insisted on killing the eldest young master he wanted to protect, and a battle was inevitable. So, even if you are afraid, you are not polite when speaking. Faced with the long sword stabbed by Wei Fuzi, Li Chen didn't dodge and directly used Thunderbolt 3 sabers to strike at the opponent. Surprisingly, it was a strategy of risking one's life and losing both sides. The older a person gets, the more they cherish their life. Wei Fuzi naturally refused to exchange lives with Li Chen. As he hurriedly withdrew his sword and dodged, he angrily shouted and cursed, "Little thing, are you not going to die? Haha. It's just worth it to exchange your old dog's life." Li Chen laughed heartily, and the second and third moves of Thunderbolt 3 sabers also followed suit. This sword technique, as its name suggests, is both swift and fierce, with a thunderous force. In a hurry, Wei Fuzi was only able to dodge. At this moment, Wei Fuzi also recognized Li Chen's swordsmanship and exclaimed in surprise, "Thunderbolt 3 blades." Taking advantage of Li Chen's 3 moves, he took several steps back and asked with concentration. "Who are you, Song Sandao?" "It's my family teacher." "I see." Wei Fuzi suddenly said, "I said where the young master came from." Li Chen didn't mind revealing his identity and said directly, "The eldest young master is the person my master named to protect. Moreover, my master is already on his way here. I advise you to retreat as soon as possible, so that it won't be difficult to explain when you see my master later." Wei Fuzi's face changed from sunny to gloomy, and then he sneered, "Song Sandao, I really can't afford to provoke him. However, you shouldn't use him to scare me. He has already been dragged down by others. He will definitely not be able to get here before dawn. As long as I kill you and then destroy your body, how can Song Sandao find me in the vast sea of people?" "That's not necessarily true," Jiangnan, who was watching, suddenly sneered. Then, he shouted loudly at Li Chen, "Brotherly, stop this old man. I'll leave first. If he dares to kill you, I'll tell your master and ask him to avenge you." Speaking, he didn't care about Li Chen's life or death and ran away first. Li Chen was taken aback and his face looked a bit ugly. "Haha. This is the useless young master you desperately want to protect." Wei Fuzi laughed loudly. "Raise your foot and chase towards the direction of Jiangnan's escape." Although Li Chen was angry that Jiangnan had left him alone to escape, he still remembered the instructions from his master Song Sandao. Waving his long sword, he struck Wei Fuzi's back straight, trying to force him to stop. Wei Fuzi was already on guard, and with a backhand sword, he separated Li Chen's long sword. After such a delay, the two of them fought together again. However, Li Chen's only strength lies in the 3 moves of Thunderbolt 3 sabers. As Song Sandao said, after the 3 moves, if the opponent cannot do anything else, there is no need to continue to take action. After using these 3 sword techniques repeatedly, Li Chen had already been predicted by Wei Fuzi about the attack route of the sword technique, and his sword pierced Li Chen's left rib. Li Chen let out a muffled groan and stumbled back. Wei Fuzi smiled proudly and turned his head, only to see that his main target, Jiangnan, had become a small black spot and was about to disappear at the end of the road. Suddenly, He had no intention of taking advantage of the situation to kill the injured Li Chen and flew towards Jiangnan to pursue him. Li Chen, who was covering his wound, didn't stop him anymore. Wei Fuzi is nicknamed Sanglang, and his lightness and martial arts are not weak. A few breaths have caught up with the panting Jiangnan. Kid! Where can I escape? Wei Fuzi gave a fierce smile and reached out to grab the neck of Jiangnan, which was already within reach. Look at the hidden weapon. Jiangnan, who was originally panicked, suddenly turned around and threw a pack of lime at Wei Fuzi as he approached, covering his face and head. Carving insects and small skills, dare to teach a lesson. Wei Fuzi gave a contemptuous smile. As the leader of an underground gang, Wei Fuzi should not see too much of this common artifact used by street thugs in fights. Nature also knows how to respond. The body suddenly stopped, pinched one corner of the shirt and pulled it upwards, then covered his head with a train. Lime is not like other hidden weapons, it only burns the eyes, mouth, and nose, so just cover the face. If faced with other martial artists, Old Master Wei naturally dared not cover up his sight so simply. But who is on the other side? The famous playboy in Nanshan City, a waste who has to gasp for breath every few steps. This playboy actually wants to use lime, a vulgar thing, to deal with me. Wei Fuzi sneered in his heart. I am already considering how to kill this playboy waste later. Is it pinching to death or stomping to death with one foot? Puff. A sharp weapon pierced through Wei Fuzi's lifted clothes and accurately penetrated his throat. Wei Fuzi's reaction was not slow either. When feeling the pain, in shock, the palm holding the train pressed down immediately, and the long sword that had pierced the throat flew away. However, it's still a bit late. The throat is one of the most important vital points of the human body, even if it is only pierced 1 inch, it is a fatal injury. Looking at Jiangnan, who was stumbling and retreating due to being slapped with a long sword. Wei Fuzi blocked his throat wound with one hand and shouted wildly, I want you to die. Using all the remaining strength of his life, he fiercely charged towards Jiangnan. End of this chapter.